Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Math with Dr. War. Sorry for the delay, but I'm now making part 2 of the exam review for the Ceafe exam. So let's begin. So question 15 is your systems of linear equation, and they want to know what is the value of the x-coordinate of the solution to the systems of equations. So we have to find the x value. Because we're finding the x value, we're going to eliminate y. Now I notice I have the plus and the minus, which is great, and I need to make both of these variables, these y variables, the same. So it's like finding the LCD. So you got 1 here and 5 here, so your LCD is 5. Now I always tell my students, if you can't figure it out, I always tell them it's like a little crisscross. This 5 goes up here, and there's an invisible 1 goes here. And because the signs are plus and minus, that is great. When I multiply the first equation by 5, I get negative 10x plus 5y equals to 10. And the second equation, when I multiply by 1, it will stay the same. So this will stay 8x minus 5y equals to 4. So when I add, I eliminate the y's. So here, negative 10x added to 8x would give me negative 2x. And when I add 10 and 4, I get 14. Solving for x, divide both sides by negative 2. So x has a value of negative 7. So your answer is D. If you want a video of solving systems of linear equations, just drop a comment below, because I know a lot of you are displaced at this moment and might be looking for a video to help. Question 16 is a literal equation. So a literal equation is made up of all variables, and they ask you to solve for a specific variable. So here they want us to solve for x. So it's like you're solving a normal linear equation, so we need to get x by itself. So I'm going to put a box right here. So the first step is I'm going to have to get rid of the 5y. So I'm going to add 5y to both sides. This is canceled. This becomes z plus 5y because z and y can't really be added to each other. So you're going to make a number sentence equals to 2x. And then solving for x, I need to get rid of the 2. So I'm going to divide everyone by 2. That cancels. So I'm looking for z plus 5y divided by 2. And my answer is D. So whenever you have a literal equation, they're going to ask you to solve for a specific variable. And here we had 3 variables, but they want us to solve for x. 16, I have to find all the solutions to the equation. Now I notice that this says y squared. That's my clue that this is a quadratic equation. And when you have a quadratic equation, your first step is to set to 0. So I have y squared minus 36 equals to 5y. To set this to 0, I would minus 5y on both sides. So I get y squared. Now remember, over here on the left-hand side, you must write your quadratic in standard form. And by standard form, the exponents must decrease. So after y squared would be negative 5y minus 36 equals to 0. I find a lot of students write their quadratic as y squared minus 36 minus 5y, and then they can't factor it. So remember, you must write it in standard form. And then here, I'm going to factor this. So I have y and y. Now this is a negative. In order to get a negative, you need a plus and a minus. So this is a basic trinomial you're factoring. So I'm looking for, and let me put my x here. So this is negative 36, and I want a negative 5, and I know one is going to be plus and one's going to be minus. y, and y. So I'm looking for two numbers that when I multiply, I get 36, and when I subtract, I get 5. So again, let the answers help you. So those two numbers would be 9 times 4. When I subtract them, I get 5, but I want a negative 5. So the 9 is going to go with the negative and the 4 with the positive. So here is my 9 here, and my 4 here equals to 0. So therefore, I'm going to be coming into this problem. So y plus 4 equals 0. And if I solve for that, I would have to subtract 4 on both sides. So y equals negative 4. So eliminate this and this, and then solving for the y minus 9 equals to 0. So which means I'm adding 9 to both sides. So y equals to positive 9. So your answer is going to be D, where y is 9 or y is negative 4. Question 18, you're solving for x. Notice you have a right triangle, and this is where you're going to use the Pythagorean Theorem, which is a squared plus b squared equals to c squared. Now, a and b are your legs, c is your hypotenuse, which is your longest side. Now, how do I find c? I always find c first. So I find the right angle, and the right angle always points to the hypotenuse. So this is c. So this is a, and this is b. It doesn't matter who's a or b, because you're adding them together after you square them. So here we can say a is 2 squared plus b is x squared equals 9 squared. So this will be 4 plus x squared equals to 9 squared is 81. Solving for x squared, we're going to subtract 4 from both sides. So we have x squared equals, and then let the answers help you. Basically, if you subtract this, you're going to get 77. However, we don't want the value for x squared. We want the value for x. So you're going to have to take the square root of both sides. So you have x equals to the square root of 77. So your answer is B. Question 19, we're solving an inequality. So I have negative 2x plus 3 greater than or equals to 4x minus 9. Okay, I'm solving for x. So this is like a linear equation. So we're going to go through the same method. So I'll subtract 4x on both sides. This would be negative 6x plus 3 greater than or equals to negative 9. Solving for x, subtract 3 on both sides. Negative 6x is greater than or equals to negative 12. Solving for x, I'm going to divide both sides by negative 6. However, by dividing your variable by negative 6, your inequality sign goes from being greater than and equals to less than and equals because you're dividing your variable by a negative. So this will be x is less than or equals to 2. Now we have to find the graph that represents x is less than or equals to 2. So notice they're all shaded, which is good. So we have here x is less than or equals to 2. Okay, this is at negative 2, so we can eliminate a. And we can eliminate c. Less than means that your arrow should be, well, let's call it decreasing. So here at B, this is increasing, so that's not your answer. Your answer is D, because it has to be less than or equals. So less than 2 means 1 and 0 and decreasing. 20, we're evaluating an algebraic expression. Given a equals to 2 and b equals negative 3, evaluate the expression below. So wherever I see a and b, I will replace them with their numerical values. So this will be 2 squared. B is negative 3 plus 2 times negative 3 plus negative 3 squared. Now once we replace the variables by their numerical values, we're going to use, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, no parentheses. So we have exponents. So here 2 squared would be 4. So this will be 4 times negative 3 plus 2 times negative 3 plus, if I square negative 3, that's 9. Next, I see multiplication. 4 times negative 3 is negative 12 plus 2 times negative 3 is negative 6 plus 9. Okay, all I see is adding, and that's what we will do. Negative 12 plus negative 6 is going to be negative 18. And then when I add that to 9, because the signs are different, I'm going to subtract, keep the sign of the larger. So my answer is negative 9. On your test, you can use a calculator. So you can use a calculator to check your computation, and you can actually enter your answer from here into the calculator to get negative 9. 21. Which of the following is the graph of the equation negative 5x plus 2y equals to 10? So the first step is we're going to have to find the slope and the y-intercept. So I have negative 5x plus 2y equals to 10. So some students, when they have to find the slope and the y-intercept given the equation, we rewrite our equation. So we're going to rewrite this in terms of y. So I'm going to add 5x to both sides. So this becomes 2y equals to 5x plus 10. And then we're going to divide every one by 2. So you have y equals to 5 over 2x plus 10 divided by 2 is 5. Now in this format here, your equation is now in the slope-intercept form, where the 5 over 2 is your slope, and the 5 here is your y-intercept. So the first thing I'm going to do is find my y-intercept. So my y-intercept is at positive 5. So my answer is not A, because this is at negative 2. This is at negative 5, so it's not B. So my answer is either C or D. Now what some students do from here is then they can use the slope. So again, my slope is positive. So if your slope is positive, it means that you're going uphill. This is going downhill because when you read a line, you read from left to right. So this is going downhill. This one is the only one going uphill, so my answer is D. If you don't want to do that, you can use the slope. So your slope is 5 over 2. Slope is rise over run. So starting at your y-intercept, so suppose we start here. You have 5 over 2. So assume that I'm rising 5 units. So you're going up 5 units. And then if I run 2 units over this way, notice your line is going that way. Another way some students actually solve this is that they put negatives. Like negative 5 over negative 2 is still positive 5 over 2. So a negative means you're going down. So if I go down 5 units, and then I run, because it's negative 2, I'm going to be running to the left. Over here, notice you're not touching the line. But if we go to D, I go down 5 units, and then I go to the right 2 units. Notice I am touching the line. So you have a choice. You can go from here and look to see whether your slope is positive or negative. I noticed that one was negative and one was positive, so I knew my answer right away. Or you can use the rise over run. 22, we have to write the equation of the line. So I have to find the equation of the line passing through the points 1, negative 2, and negative 2, 7, and then write the equation in slope-intercept form. So my first step is I have to find a slope. So they're not going to give you the slope equation, so you have to remember that the slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So because this is the first point, this is x1 and this is y1, this is x2 and this is y2 because this is your second point. So let's replace y's and x by their numerical values. So this will be 7, take away negative 2 over, and then I have negative 2, take away 1. Now 7 take away negative 2 is actually 7 plus 2, which will give me 9. And then -2 take away 1 is -3. And 9 divided by -3 is -3. So we found out our slope. So I'm going to write the slope-intercept equation, which is y equals mx plus b. Now I know that my slope is -3, and then I'm going to choose a point. I want to choose this one, 1 and -2, and I'm going to replace every one in my equation. So remember, this is x and this is y. So y is -2, I know my slope is -3, and I know my x is 1. And I have to figure out what my b would be. So -2 equals -3 plus b, and to find out b, you just have to solve the equation. Solving for b, I'm going to add 3 to both sides. So b has a value of 1. So I know my slope is -3, so a and b are out. So here, this is the only one, d, that is our answer, which will be y minus 3x plus 1. I have to find the equation of a vertical line passing through the point -2, -3. Now, if it's a vertical line, if I draw an axis here, so this is y and this is x, a vertical line goes up and down. So a vertical line is going to be cutting your x-axis. Therefore, it's going to start with x equals, and because this is the only point they gave us, what's your x value? -2. So a vertical line would be x equals -2. A horizontal line would be y equals -3. So this is our vertical line right here. If they ask you for the horizontal line cuts the y-axis, so you're looking for y, and you're just going to let it equals to the y value of your point. So a horizontal line would be y equals to -3x. 24, I have to find the slope and y-intercept. So we did this before when we were trying to graph. So again, we're going to write this in terms of y. So I'm solving for y. So I'm going to minus 8x on both sides. -3y equals -8x plus 9. Solving for y, I'm going to divide each term by -3. So y has a value of 2 negatives, gives you a positive. So this will be 8 over 3x. You can't do anything with that. You can't simplify it any further. A positive and a negative is a negative, and 9 divided by 3 is 3. So this is my slope, and this is my y-intercept. So my slope is 8 over 3, and it's a positive. So my answer is not A, it's not B, it's not D. So my answer is C. So my slope is 8 over 3. And then with your y-intercept, remember you have to write it as a point. And because it's a y-intercept, it means you have a value for y. So x will be 0, and y has a value of -3. So your answer is C. The last problem, we have to find the slope, and you're given a graph. So we have to find 2 good points, as I call them, because they don't actually put the points in. So I always say, look for your intercept. So this is a good point right here. So I always look for the intercepts. And then over here is another good point. So how do we go from here to here? So remember slope, disregard that disconnect. The server is having issues. So slope is rise over run. So if I'm here and I'm trying to get here, I would have to go down 1, 2, 3. So because I'm going down, it will be -3. And then notice I'm running to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4. And because I'm going to the right, it's positive. So my answer is -3 over 4. And there's your slope. I hope this has been helpful with solving these problems on the Ceafe examination. Good luck on your exam. And again, if you need help with any of the problems you see here, comment below if I have not made a video and you need a video. Good luck.